SR93 Boxing. I'm back with a quick video. A lot of people think I hate Keith Thurman, but I really don't, to be honest. I think Keith Thurman is a top fighter. I really like him a lot. But in this video, I want to explain why I think Keith Thurman might not be why I'm not sold into Keith Thurman as much as others are. As I said, I still think he's a top fighter. I used to buy into Keith Thurman's hype. What happened then? And how did I buy into his hype? I keep hearing his name, and I remember Keith Thurman saying, "Look, I'm an American fan, okay? I made it clear on one of my videos why I support American, but that doesn't mean that I don't support other fighters." And Keith Thurman, I keep hearing this name, Keith Thurman, but I never really paid attention. And this guy, Keith Thurman's like, American doesn't belong in the welterweight division, right? Because Tom was talking about moving up to welterweight and stuff like that. And yeah, so, and people were like, they agree with him because Keith, and I was like, okay, who's this Keith Thurman? And he seems like he's knocking guys out, this and that. American had I think this was after American having a fight with Julio Diaz. Then Keith Thurman also fought Julio Diaz, right? He fought Julio Diaz, and Keith Thurman stops him. He just devastatingly stops him. I bought into his hype. Keith Thurman was talking the talk, Iron American, Iron Sean Porter, and then he backs it up in the ring. He does something that American or Sean Porter couldn't do against Julio Diaz. And the way Julio Diaz spoke, it seemed like Keith Thurman was the best opposition that he faced. Because at the end of the day, he's been in the ring with, right? So his opinions do count, especially a bit more than us lot. And American went on to beat Luis Collazo. It surprised everyone, but I remember watching Be Real TV. Shout out to him, man. Do check out his channel. He has epic breakdowns of he has some epic predictions from Maidana to Broner. He got that prediction. He got many predictions right, yo. And he says, if Khan keeps fighting like this, someone like Keith Thurman would find it difficult to beat Khan. And I was thinking, like, really? Keith Thurman, he would knock his block off. Like, Keith Thurman, like, yo, this guy's got power, he's got speed, he's got so much power, he'll run through Khan. Right? And yeah. So, and the next thing you know, American and Keith Thurman, he was like they were on the same card after that, because American fought Devin Alexander. And yeah, on the undercard, Keith Thurman was talking some shit about Khan. He's like the most overrated welterweight. I'm glad he was honest though, because I like honesty from it's good to see some honest people out there. He was not being too disrespectful, I guess, but no, he was being disrespectful. The most overrated welterweight. He said American was the most overrated welterweight, right? And I guess and American has become very quiet, and I knew if Keith Thurman has a bad performance, if he had a bad performance with anyone, Khan would actually open his mouth. I just thought that would happen, but I was thinking maybe he's right or no. I never bought into Sean Porter's hype, but Keith Thurman's hype, yeah, I did buy into it. I'll be honest with you. So I decided, I'm just gonna check his highlights, and I can't remember if I checked the Chavez fight before, because I don't know if the Chavez fight happened before that. I mean, I think it did, but I checked some of these fights, and maybe it was the Chavez fight, but I checked a whole bunch of fights. I think I checked the Soto Karass fight, and the Karass fight, he had this, Karass had some success, and it seemed like Thurman was very open, very open. I see the same thing in some other fights, like he seems very open when he's throwing his combination and coming in, loading up on shots as well, and he seems very dominant doing it, very intimidating. But I think Chavez was winning fights with body shots as well. Like, I was thinking, whoa, this guy, I mean, look, for elite guy, for a guy to be that elite, that invincible, the reputation, for him to have a reputation that people have of him on their head, like they think Keith Thurman's this invincible god, right? Some invincible god, quote unquote, cannot be losing 4 rounds against Chavez straight, 3-4 rounds against Chavez straight from anyone. Thurman seems to be getting hit with loads of body shots, and he didn't make too many adjustments for the body shots. I guess he did. He changed up his offense a little bit, but I was thinking, wait, this guy, if he's, I mean, I still was riding with his hype, but I started questioning the hype a little bit, and I was thinking it'd be quite interesting to see if, because he seems very open, and none of these guys technically as sound as maybe a boxer, like a pure boxer, or someone who can box and punch. I want to Keith Thurman to fight someone technical, a bit more technical than who he was fighting, right? Because I think that will answer all of my questions. Keith Thurman, yeah, he fought because Diego Chavez is not that technical. He has some technical abilities, but not like the one I'm looking for, not like any opponent that I was looking for, right? So yeah, I looked at a few of his fights. I was like, I have a few questions of Keith Thurman, and then I heard of Leonard Bundu, who, yeah, he's not a top fighter. He's just a good European level fighter, like a top European level fighter. And I was thinking, what, I'd never seen Leonard Bundu fight, but I heard from some predictions, whatnot, because some people predicted Khan Alexander fight and Thurman and Bundu fight together, and I was hearing it, and I was like, apparently Leonard Bundu can box a decent bit, but they still predict Thurman to beat him, knock him out and shit. But I was thinking, yeah, he'd knock him out because I've never heard of Bundu, right? And I see this fight, Thurman's boxing him. Sorry, Bundu's kind of trying to boxing him, whatnot, trying to be tricky. Bundu's not all that, to be honest. He's a bit tricky and whatnot, but he ain't all that. And Thurman wasn't able to knock Bundu out. He dropped him, by the way. Don't get me wrong, he dropped him. But I feel like his technical skills were a bit exposed. And if every guy he's knocking out and stopping, they did not have the technical ability to exploit his open, how open he is. Because I want to see Thurman against a boxer that's kind of has decent pop, decent whatever, but technically sound. On the world level. And Bundu wasn't on the world level, but he had some technical ability, a bit more than a few other fighters that Thurman has faced. And Keith Thurman was never settled enough to land a big power shot. He was never settled enough. He couldn't get settled down. He couldn't plant his feet. He just didn't have a jab. And I was like, yo, he's doing well. He's winning the rounds, but he's not this amazing god. He'd put up a good performance because I also want to see him go the distance and see if he can outbox him. He outboxed a guy that's on a European level, but he has technical boxing ability. So I was decently impressed because that's the first time I've seen him fight a technically. I mean, again, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but you already know what I mean. So I was pretty impressed, but I still kind of realized that this guy's not the amazing, invincible man that incredible Hulk that he is at welterweight. Definitely not. He just could. I was thinking, okay, maybe I want to see someone more technically sound than him. He went on to fight, I believe, Robert Guerrero. Right, Robert Guerrero. And at the time I was thinking, yo, American might just beat Keith Thurman, but I was still riding with Keith Thurman a little bit. I don't know what the hell I was thinking at the time. I was thinking maybe it's a 50-50. I mean, not 50. I was right. I would probably side with Keith Thurman at the time when Khan beat Alexander, just because I thought Alexander did not have that pop. But Alexander was technically sound. And he wanted to fight Robert Guerrero, and Guerrero, yeah, I was happy with. He's a top fighter. He's not a top fighter. I thought Guerrero was the most overrated welterweight out there, but he was a decent fighter. Robert Guerrero went on to face him, and here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. You'd expect Robert Guerrero. I was expecting Robert Guerrero to just get walked through because Keith Thurman, stylistically, Robert Guerrero is a come forward guy. Yeah, he can kind of counter punch here and there a little bit, but at welterweight, I haven't seen too much of that skills that Robert Guerrero used to show in the lower weight divisions. So, one thing what happened was I was thinking, yeah, Robert Guerrero is going to get hit with a few right hands because he's a southpaw. He's definitely going to get hit with right hands. Maybe a few uppercuts because he tends to leave his chin up. Like even down is kind of, even though he leaves his chin down, he doesn't tuck it in. So he's kind of like hanging there down, But he's got a good chin, Robert Guerrero. One thing, as soon as I watched the fight, Thurman's coming in aggressive. I was like, oh shit, okay, he might just get this guy out of there. But, Robert Guerrero's technical aspect was a bit better than Soto Karass and whatnot. And as soon as Thurman was coming in a few times in this short part of the fight, Guerrero was countering him. I was like, holy shit. Like, I know fans are going to look at Thurman and say, oh, look, he's dominant and everything. He's dominant. He was dominant in the fight. But Guerrero, I've never seen Guerrero counterpunch like that. And Guerrero, in my opinion, was never a big counterpuncher. But he was counterpunching Thurman. And I was like, see, I'm having my questions answered. That time I realized that Khan would beat Thurman. That time I realized like someone like Amir Khan would beat Keith Thurman. And Danny Garcia might beat Keith Thurman as well. Because he's good. Let me go into it. So basically he was, I've never seen Robert Guerrero counterpunch like that. He's the one that's coming forward. And as soon as you back him up, as soon as you come to him, bring it to him, he kind of, if you can back him up, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it as much. He prefers coming forward. And I was like, Robert Guerrero's countering him while Thurman's like open as fuck. Thurman started, moving around a bit more and, started landing. He was doing a bit better. Thurman went on to drop Guerrero, which was impressive. I've never seen Guerrero dropped, but, I kind of expected that as well. He's a big puncher. Then, Thurman was about to finish Guerrero off. But Guerrero came back the next round. I feel like he won a few rounds after that as well. And Keith Thurman, on the inside, he didn't really have the best game. That's one thing that was exposed that night. His inside game was lacking. And again, yeah, I just want a few questions answered about Keith Thurman. And I've had a few questions answered that he is very open and he can be countered. He can be countered, right? And Robert Guerrero is not the most amazing counterpuncher, as I said before. So when someone like Robert Guerrero was counterpunching and he was on the inside, he was landing a few punches on the inside, even though they were not hard punches, but he was landing them. So, Robert Guerrero answered a lot of questions about Keith Thurman, in my opinion. And Keith Thurman looked good, though. He looked good in the fight, but I knew that he wasn't invincible. I kind of knew Amir Khan would beat him. Like, someone like Amir Khan would beat him, because the reason I'm comparing him and Khan is because obviously Danny Garcia said Amir Khan's a way better fighter than Keith Thurman. A lot of people are having this debate argument. Well, a lot of people believe that Danny Garcia is full of shit for saying that. But, a lot of people say I'm full of shit for agreeing with Danny Garcia. But here's the thing. Then he goes on to fight Collazo. And I was like, okay, Luis Collazo, in my opinion, is a better fighter than Robert Guerrero. I don't care what people say, right? He's a better counterpuncher. He's a bit more, like, at least at welterweight, he's a bit more slick. He has better head movement. He has a better defense as well, right? Luis Collazo. He, in my opinion, is bigger. Being there with, they've both been there with top fighters. Guerrero's been there with Floyd, but apart from that, who else? They've been there with fighters, but Collazo's been there with Hatton, Mosley, Berto. They've both been up with Berto, so that cancels up. But I feel like Collazo's been there with top fighters as well, and get everyone a top fight, like a hard fight, yeah. And I was like, this is a bad move for Andre Berto. What if he can't beat Collazo as well as Amir Khan did, right? But I was thinking, because Collazo's not easy to knock out, and Keith Thurman is not easy to hurt, right? Collazo's not easy to hurt, so I was thinking he could capitalize on something. But Collazo's kind of slow. That's the truth. He's slow. He's a bit slow in my opinion. I think Robert Guerrero's quicker. So yeah, the fight goes on. Collazo very wary of Thurman's power in the first couple rounds. But like the mid end of 2 rounds to like 3rd round, I believe. It's been a while I've seen the fight. And Collazo's like almost walking through his punches. I was like, not everything's connecting with the perfect leverage that Keith Thurman would like to connect there. He's not planting every shot that he's landing, but I was shocked that Collazo was walking through him, right? So as he's walking through him, I was like, damn, his power may be really, really good, but just not as good as others think, because he hasn't stopped a guy in his last 2 fights, and Collazo's walking through him, right? Collazo's having some success even before the round 5, because we know what happened in round 5. And in round 5, Collazo counters him. Like, not really counters him, kind of times a good body shot. Yeah. And he hurts Thurman. I actually thought Thurman would do that to Collazo just because Amir Khan's done that to Collazo. And he's done, Thurman's done that to Diaz, right? So I was thinking he might do that to Collazo as well, but instead it was the other way around. And I was like, okay, now we're having a fight, right? And Collazo had great success. He went on to win the 6th round. And see, yeah, Thurman had the stoppage or whatnot. It was a bit of a bullshit stoppage. But credit to him for getting that. I'm not convinced with that stoppage. That was like a bullshit one, to be honest. It should have been stopped as like a... Because, it was stopped with the potential injury, right? I know it seemed like Collazo wasn't injured, but it should have been stopped with the injury, not with a knockout. So, you look at but throughout the fight, I realized that if you're moving and you're kind of still being effective, applying effective pressure and trying to bother your opponent, like bothering Thurman's not going to commit. He couldn't commit enough against Leonard Bond. Couldn't commit, and Robert Guerrero was countering him and everything. He couldn't. I mean, he almost finished Guerrero off, but he's not that technically sound in my opinion. Collazo again, he couldn't commit enough. He never really hurt Collazo too badly, and so I was there like, yo, this guy, this guy is nowhere near as good as people think he is. Not, I mean, he's not as good as people think he is. Thurman's not as good, right? And he fought Collazo, but I do understand people can have questionable performance, but I've seen this over and over again that Thurman, as soon as he faces someone with some technical ability and also good counterpunching skills, Thurman is hesitant to sit down on his punches and land. And someone like Amir Khan, and that's when Amir Khan started saying Keith sometimes Thurman, because he couldn't get knockout all the time. He gets knockouts sometimes. So look, Keith Thurman will struggle with boxers that are like have technical skills, counter punching skills, just overall good boxing skills, yo. And I knew from then that Keith Thurman wasn't nowhere, and he wasn't as good as people thought it was. I knew someone like Danny Garcia, the person like I envisioned. You asked me at the time, I was thinking who would really beat this guy, Keith Thurman, right? Yeah, the first thing I think of is Danny Garcia, because everything that Collazo does, almost everything that Collazo does, Danny Garcia does better. He goes on to fight Porter. Porter did better than I thought. His technical skills isn't all that, but it's just I think that Porter improved his technical skills from his previous fight than Thurman just going down. But that wasn't a surprise to me. Now the Danny Garcia fight is happening, and I just seen what he did, not just in the Luis Collazo fight, because everyone kind of an off-night performance. I've seen this over and over again. Every time he's around with people with some technical skills, they're moving around decently. I mean, not just flat-footed all the time. They're moving around decently. They can counter-punch. They have decent head movement. It doesn't have to be extremely fast. As soon good counter-punching skills, Keith Thurman is not willing to kind of sit down and punch, and he's willing to box and everything. Yeah, he outboxed Leonard Bondu, but Leonard Bondu's not. See, again, that's the thing. If he was trying to outbox the American, do you think he'd be able to do it? Hell no, his jab isn't that good. I think, look, everything Luis Collazo does, Danny Garcia does better, and I don't see Danny Garcia losing the fight unless he really fucks up, like really turns up, like just have an off-night performance, and Keith Thurman just has a really good night performance, Other than that, I see Danny Garcia winning the fight. But yeah, let me know what you think of this. This is just how I saw Keith Thurman's career building on. Like halfway through his professional career. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'm at Star 93 Boxing. I'm out.